Hello everyone, welcome back to another video in Get Smart in Art. So today I'm going to show you an example of how I take my photography and then how I use it as a basis to produce drawings from. And later on in the weeks to come, we're also going to see examples of how I'm then going to digitally manipulate my drawings to produce contemporary collages. So in a previous video, I spoke about presenting your photo shoots or your work, let's say. Today, I'm going to show you one example that I've taken from one of the edits that I've done. So here we have an almond blossom, and basically how I've used the composition in which I've photographed. So the only editing I've done here is pretty much just slightly play around with the brightness and contrast, and then how I've then turned it into a drawing. Now, as you can see, it's not identical to the photo. I don't want it to be. I want it to have my own style on it. But actually, the composition in which I used to photograph this almond blossom, I can literally just take direct to make references to that photograph. This piece isn't actually finished yet. I still need to work on it. Let me just get rid of that. And so what I want to say in this very short video is that when you're photographing, and I will do another video on actually more tips and tricks on photographing, so a little bit more of the technical side of taking a photo and composition and framing and lighting. But think about when you're going to photograph, actually, you know, if you're going to be producing artwork from this, which should be the whole point behind this, even if your outcome will be a photographic outcome, there's still going to be an end point to that photo that's being taken. So when you're thinking about, when you're holding the camera and you're looking through the viewfinder, you know, think about, okay, I'm going to produce an artwork from this, whatever medium that may be in. So I want you to kind of visualize and think 2 steps ahead about your composition and the framing, and actually how when you produce a response to what you've taken, that actually do the two match together. And I believe, for example, these two do match together. Yes, it's not an identical photorealistic drawing, but I've taken that reference of, you know, I wanted to produce a drawing of an almond blossom, so I deliberately photographed this almond blossom using this composition, making sure that I isolated the background. So I used the macro lens, making sure that in order to show shadows and highlights, that I went out at, I think it was 11 AM, so just before noon. So things like this, these small factors will have a big impact on how those photos look and how you can produce, you know, when it comes to producing a response in regards to the photo that you have taken, that you're putting yourself in the best situation, let's say. Because had I taken this perhaps at 6 PM when it was starting to get dark, had I not perhaps used a macro lens, I would have given myself a lot more work. So for example, you know, the likelihood is of not using a macro lens in this instance is a lot more the background would have been evident. I deliberately wanted that blurred out of focus background. You know, I wanted to create that depth of field. I wanted to create emphasis on the forefront and the subjects of the photograph. And so these factors helped me when it came to producing the drawing in response to the photograph. It was easier. When I mean easier, I mean it's easier for your eye. Plus, you get an effective photograph out of it. Plus, there's less editing to do. Editing is great, and it does show a range of skills and techniques. And yes, I'm all for it. But however, we do need to spend more time thinking about and using our technical abilities prior to the post-production. So prior to using Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever software in which you will use, and it's pushing you to use your technical understanding more. And again, for the record tab for the AO3, this is AO3, this is also AO3, where you are recording, you're going to get higher marks again. So this is just one small, very tip that I want to share with you. Like I said, I will do another video where I go into little bit more of the technical side of using the camera when you're out and about, even using your phone, because you might not have access to a DSLR or very expensive equipment. So that's absolutely fine. I will do one on both, with the camera and with the phone, smartphone, so that you can see, and it should be accessible for all. So I hope that's been useful. See you soon in another video.